Ghislaine Maxwell has told the US Department of Justice that her ex-boyfriend, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, did not keep a client list of high-profile men for whom he trafficked underage girls. She also said Donald Trump always behaved like a gentleman. Maxwell is serving 20 years in prison for child sex trafficking. She was questioned about links between Epstein and President Trump.
For months, the Trump administration has faced ever-increasing pressure to release information about convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and his connections to politicians, business moguls and celebrities.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
The hunger for undisclosed details saw some of the president's usually loyal supporters turn on him, demanding the release of a rumoured Epstein client list, which members of the administration previously claimed to have seen. In a just-released interview, Epstein's convicted co-conspirator was asked about it.
There's been a lot of conversations about whether Mr. Epstein maintained like a list of people, like a book of famous people that he knew, it's called a black book or a client list or a list. Did you know of the existence of any such list?
There is no list. We'll start with that.
Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison for her role in setting up a sex trafficking network for Epstein. Federal prosecutors interviewed her last month when conspiracies around Jeffrey Epstein hit fever pitch. His connections to the world's elite and subsequent suicide in prison led some to believe that the so-called deep state was protecting powerful figures from being exposed as Epstein associates. Maxwell was quizzed about the likes of former US President Bill Clinton, the UK's Prince Andrew, and the current president.
I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
The administration's effort to quiet the MAGA base doesn't stop here. Tens of thousands more Epstein-related documents are set to be released in the coming weeks.
Let's talk about this with one of our regular political commentators, Liz Schuelke. So Maxwell says there's no Epstein client list and Trump is a gentleman. All good now? Case closed?
For many MAGA members, this is a case closed. I already noted today that Marjorie Taylor Greene has tweeted, Trump is vindicated. I feel confident he was a gentleman. And this was one of the surprising pieces, is that members of Trump's base were so critical of Epstein and his handling of it. So I think they were very glad to take Maxwell's word and actually close the book on this and say, see, look, there's nothing to see here. Of course, there's huge questions about Maxwell's actual credibility in this statement.
Well, yeah, what about the public? What are they going to think about her credibility?
I took a quick look on Twitter just to kind of see get a pulse of what's happening. And I don't know that average Americans are buying the story. If we remember Maxwell, literally her sentencing was determined because she was influenced by the fact that they had believed she had perjured herself so many times and she lied about so many facets of this, that she is not a credible narrator here. And so I think the public is going to say, I'm not sure we give this much credence as to how truthful her word is. I also think it's worth noting she was very purposeful in her wording, always stressing, I did not see anything inappropriate, which I think she later went on to say, of course, what I define as inappropriate might be different than others.
Can you remind us why the Epstein case is so dangerous for the Trump administration?
There has been a long movement, and many on the right, and specifically in the MAGA base, around calling out pedophiles and what they believe is this sex conspiracy in the deep state. This started actually earlier before Trump, but it has reached a fever pitch, and rightly so. Marjorie Taylor Greene pointed out, these are young girls who are the victims, and they're getting lost in all of this kind of political chatter. So there were a lot of folks really motivated to bring someone to account and to get justice for these victims. But perhaps has Trump appeased them with this latest interview? I think time will only tell.
As we heard in the report there could be more documents released connected to this case. What could we expect?
There has been discussion in the past, as you mentioned, of a client list. Now they're saying there was absolutely no client list. Everything that's being released is heavily redacted. So I'm not sure folks that are critical or skeptical of the president's involvement here are going to be appeased, because it's very likely that his administration is not going to release documents that incriminate him. They may release documents that incriminate perhaps adversaries or folks that he would like the attention to be focused on, or it might just be more of nothing untoward happened. Ghislaine said everything that needed to be said, move on and stop harping on this issue. So I'm not sure we'll get a lot of satisfaction out of what's actually released ultimately.
OK, and we will move on for the moment at least. Political analyst Liz Schuelke, thank you for being on DW.